Hello everybody and welcome to the Disney World playlist. This is the series in which I kind of have fun with the attractions at Disney World. We're here on MC Magic, the one-to-one scale recreation of Disney World. And this is a series in which what I basically do is I take a general theme or idea and I kind of create like a mini itinerary for attractions and places to eat at the parks that I think sort of fall within that theme. And in the past, we've done Indiana Jones, we did video games, and today we're actually going to be covering a theme that was suggested by a subscriber. Subscriber TJ Neon said, "I'd love to see a relaxation theme or calm or whatever for when you're tired at the parks." And this is an idea that we were also working on, Christine and I, when we were coming up with a list of ideas. I just called it the nap time theme, but the general idea carries over. And so we're going to kick it off here in Tomorrowland, where actually the first stop on our itinerary is, and that is what we're looking at right now, the TTA, the Tomorrowland Transit Authority. Oh, I should also mention, starting off, I set for myself a specific rule that said I could not do theater shows. I couldn't do Muppet Vision or like Captain EO, things like that where you just sit in place. It needed to be something that moved. Now, obviously, those would totally count for relaxing in the parks, but I felt for, you know, the fun of the series, I felt like there was too much of like low-hanging fruit, so I went for things that moved. And so we're kicking it off here at the TTA, or the Tomorrowland People Mover, however you want to call it. And this seemed like an obvious choice for me because it is one that I think a lot of people use when they want to relax. You know, whether it's a hot day and you want to get out of the sun for a while, or you want an attraction that really never really has a crazy line. You can usually just walk right onto it, and that's usually because it has a very fluid sort of transportation system. And on top of that, it's kind of one of the longer rides. In fact, I'm not going to ride it here on the server because it's usually such a long attraction. And you get to, you know, sit. It's still open air, so, you know, you have a nice breeze while it's still in the shade, and you get to enjoy looking, you know, people watching in Tomorrowland, and, you know, just wandering around a bit. It's fun. It's a good way to relax. And you also get to see a little peek at the Epcot city model that Walt had worked on, which is like one of my favorite things to do here in Tomorrowland. Next up, we head on over to Epcot into Future World, where we check out Ellen's Energy Adventure over at the Universe of Energy. This is a great one. Okay, I know it kind of seems like cheating with my self-imposed rule because you are sitting in that sort of theater-like ride vehicle, but it is a ride vehicle. You do move around. There are all those dinosaur dioramas. You get Bill Nye and Ellen, which is super entertaining, and it's funny enough that if you've been on it before, you can kind of just, you know, close your eyes and rest for a bit and listen to it. Although, of course, it's always worth watching. I think the beginning sequence with the Big Bang is really awesome. It's dark, so it's nice and cool and air-conditioned and in the shade. It's super long. This is like, what, a 45 minute long attraction, so you get a nice break where you get to get off of your feet. And typically, they move fast enough and they're not crowded enough that you usually don't have to wait very long. Now, I guess the other thing I should mention that I sort of forgot with the TTA is I have a bunch of honorable mentions for these. I guess if you wanted to extend the itinerary, these would count under, you know, they sort of lump under the same one. So, like, for this one, I would say a good alternative would be the Great Movie Ride. You know, it's very similar in style. You're sitting in these big, large moving vehicles. You're in the dark. You know, you could relax your eyes a bit if you've seen it a few times. It's a nice long attraction. And previously, instead of the TTA, if you wanted to leave the parks, you could go on the monorail. Very similar. You know, sit down, get in the shade, watch as, you know, the world passes you by. Very, very enjoyable. And then we take a break from the attractions to grab some lunch, and I'm picking the Garden Grill. Now, the reason I picked this one for relaxation, and honestly, you'd think anywhere to eat would be pretty relaxing because you're sitting down, you're enjoying some good food, so there's a broad range of places you can go, but I picked the Garden Grill, one, because it moves, and very slowly, and I find that to be almost relaxing, even though it is, you know, more movement than you'd get at your typical place to eat. It just adds this like very calm mood to it. And beyond that, like, you have all these scenes here from Living with the Land down below, so it sort of gives you these nice pleasant visuals. You've got like the desert and the forest and the plains here, so you know, you get something cool to look at. It changes, it's very relaxed, laid back. And also I feel like as far as restaurants go in the parks, and maybe I'm wrong with this and it's just my experience, but I find this to not be like a super overcrowded place to eat. I don't think the demand is as high as, say, like Be Our Guest, which just opened, or Le Cellier, which is like super popular for its steaks. I feel like this is like a middle of the road place to eat, but still pretty nice. We head on over to the Animal Kingdom. I rarely give the Animal Kingdom the love it deserves, but I feel like for this one, the Kilimanjaro Safari is just like a great attraction to relax on. We're going to walk through the queue here. I feel like this is a great one because, one, you're sitting, right? It's a nice seated ride. You've got, you know, the cover over the vehicle, so you're not in the direct sun. Yet again, it's open air, so you get that nice breeze. It is a little bumpy, depending on the type of person you are. That could either keep you up and maybe it's a little less relaxing, or in like my case where I find that to be like more relaxing and I fall asleep in cars and trains and things like that. I feel like it helps with the relaxation. You get to check out some cool animals, and again, it's one of those attractions that is really nice and long, right? Which I think is part of what caused me to pick these attractions, is you want one where you're going to take a break that extends long enough that you do get to rest a little bit. So I think this is a fun one to do. And again, I think this has its own mirror, and unfortunately it's no longer with us, but I would say it would be the Backlot Tour in Hollywood Studios. Rest in peace. We can't wait to see what you're replaced with, but that's another one where, you know, you get in a tram. It's a nice long tram ride, open air, nice breeze in Florida. You're not in the direct sun. Very enjoyable. So I guess now that the Backlot's there anymore, you'd have to do Kilimanjaro Safari. And it's nice to get, you know, the Animal Kingdom. I always skip over it. It is my least favorite of the parks, but at the same time, you know, like anything with Disney, even the least favorite is still something I really enjoy because it's all great over here. Now, if you think I was smart about it, I would put this right after having lunch at the Garden Grill, but of course I'm not. So we're going to bounce back from the Animal Kingdom to Epcot again, back to the Land Pavilion. I mean, we were just here for lunch, but we are at the Living with the Land attraction. This one, I feel like, would have flown under most people's radar. I think this is a great relaxation ride. You are on a boat. It is a nice moving ride. It's not crazy like, you know, I feel like Pirates of the Caribbean is also a nice boat ride, but it's got that dip in the beginning. I feel like another reason I picked this one over any of the other boat rides in Disney is because I feel like this is the least popular attraction, so you're going to get the shortest wait possible. And it's a cool, you know, I think it's an underrated attraction, so I think it's a good one to hop on just because I think it's, you know, good to go on. But it is, you know, a nice relaxing boat ride. You hop in, you listen to a little spiel, you go through all the scenes and learn, and, you know, you get into that greenhouse where it's nice and sunny and warm. I think it's a great relaxing ride. You're off your feet, and, you know, again, I think for this one, most importantly, it's the idea that you could just walk right onto it in most cases. You know, I'd say the mirror for this attraction would be something like It's a Small World, which also you're on a boat, you're indoors, you're out of the sun, but, you know, being a more popular attraction, there's a better chance that you're going to have to wait in line, which is not, you know, part of having a relaxing or calm experience. Here, you just waltz right up because everyone's rushing to Soarin'. And then for dinner, we're going to head on over to Hollywood Studios. And again, the places to eat was the tougher one because, like, what makes for a relaxing eating experience? I guess you could go to a fancy restaurant or something, but I'm picking one of my favorites, the SciFi Dine here in Hollywood Studios. And now the reason I pick this, obviously most of these places you eat are going to be indoors, but this place is particularly dark, which can be nice and relaxing and have even if it isn't a physically cooling effect anymore since they're all air conditioned anyway, but just mentally feeling cooler because it's nice and dark. You're relaxing in this car. It just feels like you're a little more secluded. And personally, you know, I grew up in an era, and I think a lot of us can relate, especially if you're around my age, where, you know, if you're living alone or, you know, you're not living with your family anymore, eating has become sort of, I feel like, a media experience. I have a dining room, and I have a dining room set. I don't eat there. Like, I'm not just going to sit at a dining room table all alone when I'm eating at home. I'm usually sitting at my desk with, like, Netflix open, or, you know, at the TV with Netflix or Hulu or one of those services open. So I guess the idea of sitting in this car and eating while watching that sci-fi reel is really entertaining to me, and it's really relaxing to me, because that's the sort of thing that, like, I'll do if I'm not going out to dinner with friends or something. So I feel like it has that sort of mirror there. And then finally, we're going to kick off this nice, relaxing day with a ride of the Carousel of Progress. Now, this one might be cheating a little bit. It is a theater show. You do sit down, but technically speaking, the theater does rotate, so it is a moving attraction. This one, I think, for me, is a no-brainer, and I actually would have moved it up the list a little bit, I think. In fact, now that I look at this list, I realize it could have been much more efficient by grouping some of these together. Hello, TTA. I think this one's relaxing. You're indoors, you're off your feet. It's a nice show that, again, it's one of those things where I feel like if you've been on it a million times, it becomes a lot easier to tune out and you can just relax. I have, on more than one occasion, had my parents tell me that, like, some of these attractions, especially the ones I've listed here, like Ellen, are ones where they could just take a nap. And for me, I love these attractions so much, I just couldn't even fathom the idea. But for some people, I think they would be able to. And this is another one where I feel like, as far as attractions go, it is on the longer end. I think it's like around 20 or a little over 20 minutes long. So you get a decent sized break. And again, because it's aging, because it's no Space Mountain or Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, I think you are going to have an easier time walking on this one in general than, you know, any of these other attractions. I'm not sure of a mirror here. I guess the mirror here would be all the other, you know, theater experiences that I didn't mention. PhilharMagic, Muppets 3D, you've got the boat tour in Mexico. There's so many other options where you could relax. I mean, this is just a small sample size, and I think that's really great because it does live up to Walt's message of he wanted a park where people of all ages and all types can go and enjoy, and part of that is not having all thrill rides or exciting rides, and there are plenty of rides here where if you're not, you know, looking for thrills or excitement, if you're maybe older, you want to take a break, that's there for you, and that's really fantastic. I want to know what you guys think. Maybe this is an awful itinerary and you have the perfect 5 attractions or the perfect restaurants to go to. I want to know what those are because I think this is a really cool, fun way to talk about attractions in new and different ways. On top of that, if you have an idea for a theme idea or a playlist idea, I'd love to hear that as well. Like I said, this one was suggested by TJ Neon, so, you know, me and Christine do hear your suggestions, and I keep saying that I want to get her involved, and we are planning for her to do a couple, so maybe I can even rope Keith Lapinick to do one. You know, that'd be fun too. I want to thank you all for watching. Whatever you're doing, make the most of it because it makes it that much better. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Twitter at RobPlays. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you next time for the next episode of Disney World Playlists. Bye, everybody.